And no, it's not a good idea to be really hateful. Like everyone says, don't hate on stuff, but it's kind of getting really hard because I'm finding I'm getting this like really serious hate for Tony Abbott, like really hating him. I hate just saying his name, Tony Abbott. I just hate you. Like really, it's like a child hate, like really hate. It's like I knew the minute I saw him, you know, I remember the first time I ever saw him on TV when he was sort of, you know, showing himself as an eminent political figure on the horizon. I got that feeling like it's like love at first sight, except it was hate. It was like, ooh, yuck, a little bit of vomit in my mouth, a bit of... And I think it's really wrong. I'm finding now I can't even look at, I can't look at him. I can't listen to his voice. If anything comes on the radio with him speaking, I have to turn it off, which is terrible because I'm trying to stay in touch with what's going on, but I can't bear to hear the sound of his smugness in his voice. I hate his self-interest. I hate all that kind of, you know, that self-satisfied, narrow-minded, kind of right-wing, sort of up-yourself Christian bigotry. It so just makes me furious. And I sort of think I have to get out of my system. And I was thinking of coming out with a list. It's called the 10 Things I Hate About Tony Abbott. I was a bit worried that 10 wouldn't be enough. But, you know, as it turns out it is. Now, the first one I hate is fact. He's a misogynist. As you know, I've made that point once before about his misogyny because he's not really. Clearly, he thinks women are inferior. He's got, you know, he says things. He's not, you know, too keen on women having the right to abortion. He makes kind of disparaging remarks about women having access to education, like we're just going to waste it because what's the point anyway of breaking the glass ceiling if all you're going to do is clean it? And I don't think it's any sort of, you know, joke. And it's a bit of an irony, you know, for Tone, who was actually, you know, going to be a Catholic priest. He left the seminary, and it's kind of ironic. The only two women that have been appointed in any position of power both have the surname of Bishop, which I think is a little bit kind of spooky. Second reason, I've written it down, his attitude towards Indigenous Australia. Pretty bloody bad. And his latest his plan is to cut Aboriginal legal aid. Now, I think when you look at the levels of incarceration in Indigenous communities, and I've got this written down here, it's something like, I think 26% of the prison population is Indigenous, and considering that 2.5% of the actual Australian population is Indigenous, that's a little bit of over-representation. So I think by removing Aboriginal legal aid, Tone's going to hit his 100% incarceration of Indigenous people target pretty bloody soon. So that's obviously he's on that. The other reason I hate him is that he repealed the carbon tax. He repealed the carbon tax. Clearly we're heading for like environmental Armageddon. We had a carbon tax. We had a way to make corporations stop and actually take some sort of, you know, accountability for their emissions. But no, they had to stop it. And now, of course, they're looking at, like, they might come up with a bit of a budget deficit. And so they were saying, well, they might have to come up with another tax, which is, I think they're going to get the Dickhead Award of 2013 for that one. Lack of compassion to refugees, that will be big number 4, and that's pretty clear. It's pretty horrible, you know, kind of. I mean, it's ironic because most Catholics, and I was brought up Catholic, and it's a huge, you know, component of the Catholic Church, is actually very strong believers in social justice, very much about the right to, you know, just to look out for other human beings, but not Tone. I think Tone falls on the George Pell side of the fence, the George Pell side of hell. That's where Tone sits well and truly. He's not on the social justice side. And just the other day, oh, it's actually a couple of weeks ago, he actually fired the members of the Immigration Health Advisory Group, the people that are actually the most specialised people in the country on refugee health, and appointed an ex-defence doctor, as of someone who'd been head of defence, a certain Dr. Paul Alexander. I'm sure, because the defence is known for their incredible, the Defence Department has an incredible amount of compassion, really good place to put them in charge of refugee health. That was number 4. Number 5 is disregard for nature. Basically, Tone has signed off on destroying the Great Barrier Reef. Yeah, it's going to be a no-go zone. And it's, you know, it just, you know, he's actually made the approval to actually to dredge a port just, you know, 50 metres north of the Whitsundays, which is horrific. Ironically, the point where they're dredging is actually called Abbott Point. Isn't that weird? Abbott Point. And I'm thinking, God, I wish they'd dredge his heart to try and find some compassion and love instead of dredging, you know, the seabed. But, you know, I suppose you've got to dredge where there is something to dredge. Number 6, he's about to destroy Australian sovereignty. Yes, I mean, he's been very busy. He's going to do this with something they're wanting to get through called the Free Trade Agreement, where it's going to give US corporations the upper hand over Australian interests. The Australian federal government won't be able to make laws to hinder business or profits of US corporations. So plans are afoot if you know this, to turn Australia into sort of like a drive-through McDonald's, kind of be like a drive-through. So now, if anything happens, if we have any sort of regulations that we try to bring in and it might hinder, you know, potential profits of US corporations in our company, we won't be able to. We'll have to just suck it up, suck it up. Thanks, Tone, that's good. Number 7 is against same-sex marriage. He's made that pretty clear from the start. Tone's done. That's another really good reason to hate Tony Abbott, because I totally hate him. But ironically, his sister is gay and just married her same-sex partner. Tony, of course, did attend the union, or the marriage, as Tony likes to say it, but he said he's not going to recognise the union. And I just felt so sorry for Tony Abbott's sister, thinking, oh my God, how embarrassing to have to come out and tell people that her brother is Tony Abbott. That must be really bad. She must need a support group for that. Number 8, where I hate Tony Abbott, he hates the Greens. He's actually just defunded the Australian environmental legal centres all around the country. So now, if you've got any conservation issues, if there's any need for law reform, it ain't going to happen anymore. And I think, surely this isn't a coincidence, I'd say. This couldn't be a coincidence, you know, for the fact that he's, you know, sort of doing all the stuff, removing all these legal services and allowing corporations eventually to take a little bit more of a move in. Number 9, Tony wants you, I hate Tony, he wants you to stay sick. Now he's looking at defunding Medicare Local, something set up by the last Labor government as a way of increasing the health knowledge of your local doctor and your health practitioners. But according to them, it's inefficient and it's not working, so they're going to get used to it. I mean, basically, what's the point of, you know, having better qualified doctors and better professionals? They'll only keep you well, and everybody knows big business is in being sick. Now what's going to happen is looking at bringing in international corporations to actually take care of our medical system, which is a really great thing to bring in a legislation earlier on, which is actually a bit of a free trade thing, to actually give them free reign over our country. I don't think it's a coincidence. And number 10, the 10th reason I've come up with, you know, why I hate Tony Abbott, is he killed Gonski. He killed Gonski. There was Gonski. He saw Gonski. He said, I'm going to go for Gonski. And as soon as he got in, he got Gonski and he throttled Gonski. He goes, Gonski was a goner. Gonski was a really great way of assuring, you know, Australian school children there was going to be really great reforms in their education, really great ways of addressing of need across the board. But that's not going to happen now. Gonski is Gonski. But you know what, as I was thinking, probably, you know, in this new Australia that Tone's creating by actually, you know, making sure that women don't stay in education, that they actually go back home, and that Indigenous people are locked up, there's going to be a lot more resources available for all the white boys at school. So maybe at the end of the day, it won't be that Gonski after all. Anyway, go by 10 reasons of why I hate Tony Abbott. It's just a start. He's only just begun. Welcome to hell, hey? Tony Abbott style. See you on the other side. It was your fault, you idiots. You voted for the moron. Oh, God. It's embarrassing.